I never thought I'd be the type of person to end up in a Reddit story like this. I'm careful, I don't overshare, I meet in public places, and still somehow that wasn't enough. This happened just 6 months ago, and I'm only now able to talk about it without getting physically sick. I want to share it in case someone else needs to hear it, because if I had ignored one small gut feeling, I honestly don't know what would have happened to me. So I'm 27, female, and I live in a mid-sized city in the Pacific Northwest. I'm a graphic designer, work from home, and like most single people, I have a love-hate relationship with dating apps. This started on a dating app, let's call it Snatch. I'd been on there for a couple months, and most of the guys were decent, just not great matches. Then I matched with this guy named Chris. He looked like a normal, clean-cut 30-something. His profile said he worked in tech, loved hiking and coffee, had a dog, all the generic things, but nothing was too polished or fake. We chatted for about a week. He was polite, didn't come on too strong, and seemed genuinely interested in my work. So when he asked to meet for a coffee, I said yes. We met on a Saturday afternoon at a busy coffee shop downtown. He was punctual, a little quieter than I expected, but overall nice. We talked for about 45 minutes. No huge red flags, but no major sparks either. He was kind of intense with eye contact, but I chalked it up to nervousness. I ended up cutting it short with the classic, I have errands to run excuse. He asked if we could do it again sometime, and I said, maybe. That should have been the end of it. But a couple of days later, I got a message from him asking if I wanted to grab dinner that week. I politely declined, saying I didn't feel a romantic connection but wished him the best. He replied with, fair enough. You're still the most interesting person I've met on here. I left it on read. That's when things started getting weird. The next day, I got a new follower on my public art Instagram account, a profile with no posts, just a weird username like Cityscape2024. Didn't think much of it. Then few days later, I started getting emails, not spam, but sign-up notifications from random websites. First a hiking newsletter, then some weird men's rights podcast, then a local shooting range. Still, maybe a coincidence. Maybe a data breach. Then I noticed my Uber history showed a request I never made. It was a scheduled ride for an address about 15 minutes from my apartment, set for 3 a.m. the next day. At this point, I froze. This was not a coincidence. I changed my passwords, enabled two-factor authentication, even deleted Snatch. But it got worse. A week after that, I was walking to my car in the evening after getting dinner with a friend. My car was parked in a pretty well-lit area downtown. As I was unlocking the door, I noticed something off. There was a folded piece of paper under my windshield wiper. I opened it. It just said, "You really should answer your messages." No name, no signature. I drove straight to the police station, shaking the entire time. They took a report, but said that unless there was a direct threat or physical contact, there wasn't much they could do. They told me to block him, document everything, and be careful. So I did all that. But the thing is, I had blocked him, and I had no idea how he knew where I'd be parked that night. The next morning, I dumped out my entire purse on the kitchen counter. I went through every pocket, every zip, even the lining. That's when I found it tucked deep inside a small side pocket I never use. A tiny black square. No markings, just a flat piece of plastic smaller than a car key. I Googled it. It was a Bluetooth tracker, not an Apple AirTag, something cheaper and harder to detect. You'd never hear a beep. It didn't trigger any alerts on my phone. My stomach dropped. I had used that same purse on the day of our coffee date. It had been sitting on the floor, half opened. He must have slipped it in then. I wanted to vomit. I called the police again. This time, they took it more seriously. They logged the tracker as evidence, pulled security footage from the coffee shop, and suggested I stay somewhere else for a few days. I stayed with my sister and got a new phone. I also installed security cameras in my apartment and parking lot. 2 days later, they called me back. The footage from the coffee shop showed him crouching to tie his shoe next to my bag and very clearly slipping something into it. It wasn't enough to charge him with stalking, but it was enough for a restraining order. I also learned that the tracker he used connects to an app that anyone can download. It's anonymous, basically untraceable. The police believe he was following me long enough to learn my routines. The Uber schedule, he might have been planning to get me picked up and dropped somewhere. For what? I don't even want to think about it. I still don't know what his endgame was. Maybe he was just obsessed. Maybe he wanted to scare me. Maybe he had something much worse in mind. What I do know is that listening to my gut and finding that tracker when I did may have saved my life. So to anyone dating right now, keep your social media private. Check your bags, trust your instincts, and don't assume that because someone seems normal, they're safe. That's my story. Thanks for listening. If even one person hears this and avoids something similar, it's worth sharing. Stay safe out there. And Chris, if you're listening, let's not meet again.